Hello, my name is Stephen O'Reilly. This is Roma Locuta Est Considers. This is a production of the Roma Locuta Est.com blog and website. What is the Roma Locuta Est.com blog and website, you may well ask yourself. Well, it's a wee, humble blog that the world little notes, nor will it long remember. But it is devoted to apologetics and commentary on Catholic topics, current events, and general Christian apologetics. Its staff, such as it is myself, Steve O'Reilly, and my colleague, Edward J. Barr. We do not seek or accept donations. There's no funding is received from any other source. We're beholden to no one, and we alone are responsible for the content. Should you happen to be curious about my background, you can find a little bit more about me on the About section on romalocutaest.com. But I would just note here that I do also write fiction. I'm working on a trilogy called Pia Fidelis. It's a bit of historical fiction set in the Roman Empire of the 4th century AD at the time of the Arian crisis. It's a story of war, adventure, betrayal, romance, and of course it's a story about the faith. It includes the rise of Julian the Apostate, who St. John Henry Newman considered to be a type of the Antichrist. This is book 1 of the trilogy, and I'm hard at work on book 2. I hope and I think you'll find it interesting. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, paperback, and hardback, and it's available to order through other distributors such as Barron's and other fine distributors. Now, this initial series of Roma Locuta Est Considers will be devoted to the topic of Benepapism. Benepapism is defined as the belief that, or the claim that Pope Benedict XVI remained Pope until his death. And that his resignation was invalid, and that he did not validly resign in February of 2013. In terms of nomenclature, when I first started to write on this topic back in 2017, I believe it was, I had coined the term BIP, which was an acronym for Benedict is Pope, or Benedict is still Pope. However, when I began writing my book back in April-ish of 2022, this past year, it seemed, I think, pretty clear to everyone that Benedict's health had declined quite a bit, and that perhaps he would not be around much longer. So BIP did not seem to be a term that would have long health or long longevity to it. So then I opted to use the term Benepapist for those who believe that claim, and then Benepapism for the claim itself. So overall, though, the term is not intended to be pejorative. It's just meant to be descriptive so that we all know what we're talking about. We at Roma Locuta Est are not fans of Pope Francis, so when I started hearing about the Benepapist claims back in 2017, I did start off curious. Was actually hopeful about the claims, but as soon as I started looking into the evidence and I examined it, it was clear to me that the evidence did not bear out the conclusions. For example, I think one of the initial claims I had read was the always is also a forever. That was a line from Benedict's last audience, and I thought it was grossly misinterpreted by those who provided a Benepapist interpretation of it. So at romalocutaest.com, we have a lot of compilations and articles on Benepapism. Some of these articles are combined or compiled underneath an article called Summa Contra BIP. And then there's another compilation of articles, it's a little more recent than that, called The Case Against Those Who Claim Benedict is Still Pope. These articles and additional research are the basis for my book, which you see on your right. The book is called Valid, the Resignation of Pope Benedict XVI, The Case Against the Benepapists. I am honored to say that Bishop Athanasius Schneider wrote the foreword for the book. Now, I just thought, like I said, with this series, I hope it will be helpful to those who are interested in this topic. Perhaps you've fallen into Benepapism, where you have a friend or a relative who has, or you're just looking to understand the issue and perhaps argue against your friends and relatives or whomever. I've also compiled here just a short list of resources in terms of books against Benepapism. At the moment, it's just my book. The Benepapists have about 7 or 8 books out there that I've been able to tell in various languages. But my book, Ballad, is at the moment the only book that makes the arguments, the case against Benepapism. However, for articles, there are a number of articles out there, as I said, on Roma Locuta Est, my blog and website. I have a couple of compilations where if you click on those, or you have to enter the web addresses here, you'll find under each of those articles there are a number of articles on various topics related to Benepapism. Also, Ryan Grant had written a great article for 1 Peter 5 on Benepapism. And then Father John Rickert has written several articles on Benepapism, very well written, well thought out arguments against it. And Dr. Edward Fieser has also written, at least to the last of my knowledge, has written about 2 articles on the topic. All right, this is episode 1 of Roma Locuta Est Considers, and today, and over a series of videos, we'll consider Benepapism. This is a bit of a brief introduction to it. Benepapism, as I said up front, is the claim that Benedict's 2013 resignation was invalid. I think we should say up front that immediately following his resignation, or even the election of Francis, no questions were really raised about the validity of either until about 2 to 3 years later in the 2016-2017 timeframe. That's when we really started hearing folks suggest that Benedict was still Pope. And this followed the controversy over Amoris Laetitia, which was a apostolic exhortation issued by Pope Francis. It was clearly controversial on a number of serious doctrinal questions that raised a lot of concerns amongst Catholics. So there's still to this day a lot of ambiguity and confusion regarding that. But this really gave the impetus to the Benepapists. Their movement has kind of grown as attempting to provide an explanation or a solution for Francis. How do we explain this guy? If Benedict is still Pope, as they allege, then Francis could not be a valid Pope, because you can't elect a new Pope if you still have a living, existing Pope. Problem solved, or so that's what their claim is. Some of them had wondered, did he resign freely? They looked at the activities of a group of cardinals who have come to be known or called themselves actually the St. Gallen Mafia. So other folks looked at the resignation document themselves, which Benedict's resignation document was called the Declaratio, and folks looked at that and said, hey, there's some questions about whether or not this is a valid document, or not about valid document, but whether or not it validly expressed what is necessary for a valid papal resignation. But I think if you look back at it, I think if the 2013 conclave had elected a Pope Pius XIII, I doubt very much that these folks would have raised or looked so closely at these questions under the same or similar circumstances had Pius XIII been elected. It's not the purpose of this video series to go into the question of Francis. Maybe in the future we might do something in that regard if folks have an interest in that. But as I said up front, it's this blog, or RomaLocutaEst.com. We are not fans of Francis, as I have said. However, my opinion remains that the evidence for Benepapism needs to stand or fall on its own merits. I believe firmly that once one examines the evidence offered by the Benepapists, that one will see that the case for Benepapism fails. And that is what this coming series of videos will attempt to demonstrate for those out there who might have questions about the theory of Benepapism, who perhaps believe it or follow it, and also to provide a resource for those who might have friends or relatives who are tempted by it or have fallen into it. Okay, so here is Benedict's Declaratio. This is the instrument of his resignation. He read it out to the cardinals, I think it was on February 11th, 2013, and as he made his resignation, he stated here that his resignation would be effective 28 February. So this is the Latin version. You can find it on the Vatican website, but we'll move over here real quick and take a look at the English version. All right, so here is the English version of the Declaratio, and again, it's going to be on the Vatican website, and the key portion of it here is going to be right in here. For this reason, well aware of the seriousness of this act, and with full freedom, I declare that I renounce the ministry of the Bishop of Rome, successor of St. Peter, entrusted to me by the cardinals on 19 April 2005, in such a way that as of 28 February 2013 at 8 o'clock, the See of Rome, the See of Peter, will be vacant, and a conclave to elect the new Supreme Pontiff will have to be convoked by those who have the competence it is. So that is the key portion of the Declaratio, and let's just take a closer look at that here in a second. Okay, here it is, just blowing up a bit for you, make it a little bit easier to read. Again, so here Benedict states that he's resigning with full freedom. He is saying he declares, or he renounces the ministry of the Bishop of Rome, the successor of St. Peter. And he says he's doing this in such a way that the See of Rome, the See of St. Peter, will be vacant. Not only that, he says a conclave to elect a new Supreme Pontiff will have to be convoked by those whose competence it is. So that is the key portion of his Declaratio. So let's kind of examine what that means. Okay, so I think it's clear we can make a number of observations about the Declaratio. It certainly appears to be the case that Pope Benedict's resignation was valid. He said he renounces the ministry of the Bishop of Rome, the successor of St. Peter. That is a clear reference to the papacy. So he's saying he renounces the papacy. He says he renounces it in such a way that the See of Rome, the See of St. Peter, will be vacant. So just a simple point here, that the See of Rome, the See of St. Peter, is vacant. There is no Pope, right? So the See is vacant. There is no Pope. You can't have a Pope and have a vacant see at the same time. You know, it's the principle of non-contradiction. He also goes on to say, and a new conclave to elect a new Pope will be necessary. Not an additional Pope, a new Pope. Because why do we need a new Pope? Because the old Pope is gone, because the See of Peter is vacant. Benedict even goes on further in his Declaratio to entrust the Church to our Lord, and he implores Mary to assist the cardinals in electing this new Supreme Pontiff. So again, that's reiterated. So, what can we say? Well, given Benedict renounced the ministry of the Bishop of Rome, successor of St. Peter, in such a way the See of Rome and the See of Peter would be vacant, it necessarily follows Benedict renounced the papacy. That, I think, is exceedingly clear. Unfortunately, when things are exceedingly clear, it may well be that's not the end of the story. It typically happens, it's the beginning of the story. In our next episode, we will begin to kind of delve into what the Benepapists make of that declaratio. So the next episode will begin a several-part series on the munus versus the ministerium. I hope you found this video helpful. This is the first time for me kind of creating such a thing, so I hope I didn't do it too badly. I will endeavor to improve as time goes on, and thank you for watching.